Welcome to That Card Collectors Podcast with your host, Ian Taylor.
Hello, everybody. My name is Ian, and welcome to That Card Collectors Podcast. Joining me this chilly Sunday is Jason.
Hello.
Is Josh.
What it is.
And a very, very special welcome back to Ben Berry. Welcome, sir.
Is this where I say enjoy collecting, or is that later? I'm kidding.
That's
Hello.
at the end. That's at the end. Nice try, though. I had a look of panic in my eyes then. I was like, can he hear me? Can he hear me? So for those who don't know Ben, quite frankly, where have you been? You can hear all about Ben and his journeys and his origin story in episode 139. But Ben you're one of the admins, aren't you? You're not the admin. You're one of a team. Am I right?
I think it's fair to say I'm the head. And really, I guess, sort of always have been of the EPAC Facebook major group. There's other EPAC groups around. We're the largest. We've been around the longest. I did not found the group, but I am the only truly active of the three that took over, and I volunteered to lead it from the beginning, and the other two joined me, and then I've got a team of 8. So
yeah, that's
wow.
and that's probably not that many for a group that active. So for those who want to find it, I will put a link in the show notes for this one. But for those who want to find that group, it's called Upper Deck EPAC Trading Buy and Sell. One of these days, you're going to have to work on an acronym for that, or try and swap them around so you can get it to work.
Yes, true.
Because at the moment it's ADECT. It doesn't quite trip off the tongue. I don't know. See if you can get it to spell EPAC or Shield or something like that. Now it's worth pointing out that Upper Deck EPAC, which is what we're talking about this week, because Upper Deck EPAC. Oh, I've got something in my eye. Ouch. Upper Deck EPAC is 10 years old, ladies and germs, which is why we wanted to do a special episode to kind of talk about EPAC and 10 years of EPAC and what the next 10 years might bring. But I think it's worth pointing out that the Upper Deck EPAC platform, which is an online platform where you can open Upper Deck products, you can trade Upper Deck products with other collectors, and you can have those physical cards shipped home to you, or you can move them to ComC to have them sold, or you can move them now. I believe it's coming in. They're starting to integrate something called the Authority, which is like a vault where you can store things. So I think it's worth saying at this point that Upper Deck's terms and conditions say that you're not supposed to sell on their platform, which is why groups like yours, Ben, probably flourish quite well, because, as we all know, it's like recording songs off the radio. Technically, it's illegal, but everybody does it. Would that be fair to say?
Yeah.
Well, and I will say that Upper Deck has told me directly. Yeah, a very old reference, but a very good reference. Mm-hmm. But Upper Deck has told me directly that once you purchase the cards, they don't care. So they have no problem with you buying and selling them. They just don't want it to be on the EPAC platform itself, because they don't want to be responsible for any fraud concerns, they don't want it. They already are somewhat overwhelmed, I think, dealing with just the mischief that goes on in the chat on that product, let alone, dealing with people buying and selling over there.
Yeah, you got to pick your battles on that one, I guess, haven't you? So, okay, so let me start off. I'm gonna dive into the email that Upper Deck sent out earlier this week as we record. The email starts: celebrate 10 years of Upper Deck EPAC on January the 20th. Oh my goodness me! You okay there, Ben?
Sorry. Yeah, I'm all right. Sorry.
That's all right. I had to go back to the video to work out who it was that was coughing. I thought we were losing Jason for a second. Right. On January the 28th, 2016, Upper Deck EPAC went live along with the inaugural product release 2015-2016 Upper Deck Series 1 Hockey. To commemorate 10 years of EPAC, we are excited to announce a number of promotions, a 10th anniversary sale, and an upcoming EPAC exclusive weekly pack set. Celebrate a decade of collecting on EPAC by picking up some packs, sparking up trades, and connecting with the EPAC community today. And then below, they've got 10th anniversary card and avatar. As a thank you to the EPAC collectors who joined the site in 2016 and have been with us since our inaugural year, an exclusive physical trading card featuring Dylan Strome, Connor McDavid, and Jack Eichel, is that?
Eichel.
Eichel. There we go. Will be added to your EPAC collection. There we go. Now you might have noticed from the way I butchered that I'm not really a hockey guy. However, I am feeling it's cool. But we'll come on to that. Card will be added to collections soon. Keep an eye on EPAC News. And there's also an avatar as well. So I guess my first question is, Ben, have you been in the EPAC ecosystem since 2016?
I have not. I missed it by a little over a year. I joined in late 2017 with my first account, and then the one that I've been on now was sometime about 6 months after that, because I actually joined, had trouble with figuring everything out with it initially, couldn't find a group like ours to make it worthwhile to me. The group that I wound up joining, the group that I eventually turned into what is mine now today. But no, I'm not a 10-year user. I know lots of them, but that is not something I can claim.
Yeah, I was 2018, I think. I haven't actually gone back and looked. Josh, you're not a big EPAC user, but how long have you been on there?
Long time, but yeah, I wasn't a heavy utilizer, but I probably jumped on the first was 2016 Masterpieces was on there, or was it 18?
Yeah,
that was the first?
Yeah, no, 2016. So you've been on there since 2016 then?
I don't think I caught 16 on EPAC. I think I caught 18. I believe it was right around when I started.
Right.
Yeah, I'm almost sure of it.
Yeah.
So it would have been
20. I first heard about it in 2018 from the Marvel Masterpieces Facebook group when that came out and people started talking about EPAC, but I got into it and joined in 2019, the end of 2019, got into it and been doing it ever since.
Okay. Have any of you ever looked? This is an interesting question for you, Ben. You can download on the Upper Deck EPAC system your entire account history, I believe, including how much you've spent. I've never done that because I'm not sure I want to know. Has anyone on here done that?
No.
I was not aware that you could do that.
Yeah,
I think the trade history would be interesting if you can see all of that, because there are historical things that would be useful to me to understand. I get the number of times I get asked, can you vouch for this guy, or do you know this person at all?
Gotcha.
And I've made 20-some thousand trades, like 27,000 trades at this point. And so remembering who is all involved isn't always the easiest thing.
Yeah, can imagine.
No, I can imagine. Yeah, I mean, you're on there a lot because it's not just on there. You're not just on there for the group. You're a collector. And you've been into quite a lot of stuff. What have you been chasing? Yeah, what's your kind of most recent things that you've been chasing? Because you don't tend to have the cards physical, do you? You kind of leave them in that kind of virtual sort of vaulted. world.
Yeah, there's a lot of different use cases for EPAC and how people choose to collect. I've done a lot of apartment living until recently purchasing a home. So one of the things that I noticed about it as I started to get really heavy into it was, one, I enjoyed not having all the wrappers and all of junk base that I'm never going to be able to do anything with, or the clutter or the waiting for the cards to arrive from, when I've purchased boxes online or whatever. And so that between the lack of clutter, the ability to buy and sell much more quickly, I'm lazy about going to the post office. So this saves me that problem of disappointing folks by being slow to ship. And then lastly, because I do a lot of achievements, it helps me not spend money, because once I've opened some packs, then I'm trading a lot to chase, and I can re-chase over and over again a lot of different things. Having all the cards there means that I've got more trade fodder. So I keep all my PC stuff in a separate account, but my main working account is the larger account. Keep a very thin PC on purpose. So.
Okay. Yeah, that's probably the best way to do it. I mean, a lot of people are on there, just for the sport of it as well. I've found, they just enjoy the process and the chase and the collecting of things. I've just gone on to EPAC actually, and you can see your order history, but bizarrely enough, I can't actually see a way to download it. But I scrolled down and it takes me back to 2021. So I don't know if it's on there from before they had, because they had that upgrade to the site, which was probably about 5 years ago now.
Yep.
I think before then isn't visible to me, which would kind of make sense. But I guess I could work it out since the 11th of October 2021, if I wanted to, by just grabbing all the data off this screen. But yeah, scary stuff. Anyway, so we won't go there.
Yeah, you got the right idea.
I don't think I'm ready for that. I don't think I'm ready for that. It's like in the 12 steps of recovery. You need to be ready for the next step before you move on. I'm not there. So for my what I find interesting about Upper Deck EPAC is that I wasn't going to go there with this one just yet, but I'm going to go there with this now. I find it interesting that whenever I see Upper Deck post about EPAC exclusive sets, especially on their Facebook page, I go to it, and you still to this day see an awful lot of people commenting, why would I want to spend money on digital cards? Why would I want to do this? Why would I want to do that? And they don't quite get it.
Right.
So I'm curious to hear your collective thoughts as to why you think that perception still exists, and what Upper Deck can do to maybe, educate more and counteract that. Because I think a lot of people think, oh, it's just Upper Deck's version of Topps Collect, which of course is all digital. I don't know. What do you what say you? I'm not asking this of any one of you. I'm just curious to know any thoughts on that.
Well, I can tell you my first memory of EPAC was convincing some of my buddies that these cards are tangible, that you can keep them as a digital inventory, that you can, you've got options there, but they are, essentially click to print right to your house, and that this is a real thing. It's just a new type of way to purchase. But because everybody, even in the beginning, was worried about their investment. It's protected. You're okay, and you'll be able to have these shipped to your house at any time. It'll take a little bit. It's not you ripping packs at your house, but when I got my first few shipments from ComC, I shouldn't say that, all of the masterpieces I got were in such amazing condition. Everything was so good that it made a difference, and it did open my eyes to, something in its infancy you're a little scared of, but I saw quality right from the jump. I liked the way that EPAC worked. it took a while trying to explain. Mike will be the first person to tell you he's a huge EPAC guy and has been now for about 4 years, but it took some time. It really did. It took some time to convince him, hey, you when you jump in, you're staging yourself for the achievements. Trades are really fluent there. People are much more in the mindset of everyone trying to kind of help each other out to some extent, meet these achievements. So depending on what you have, my experience with trades was always great on EPAC. And so, yeah, it's awesome to see where they've come now. It's definitely, when they started, they were new. It was a new idea. Collectors were still trying to wrap their head around it.
And I think there's still challenges today. I will say that there's obviously been phenomenal growth. I think losing the Marvel license has sort of stagnated their entertainment side a bit because of how slow they've been to get the DC side up and running. I'm hopeful that we'll see a change there as the DCU sort of matures and they start being able to put film adaptation cards out with the product. But there still remains a challenge of people understanding how the platform works and why it's different than, say, Topps Collect or anything that's on the blockchain. And even with the tie-ins of the blockchain headed digital only stuff that they've got on their side platform now. But I think the biggest thing is marketing. Upper Deck should take a totally different strategy to how they market EPAC. But I think some of that might be, again, trying not to run afoul of their brick and mortar stores for the physical cards as well. They have to walk a little bit of a tightrope because what they're trying to do is grow their ability to market without stealing their own customers from the brick and mortar shops that sell their physical products. So it's marketing maybe heavier in rural areas where they don't have as many shops because one of the NHL executives who at least at the time was in charge of working with the licensing specifically told me that they see EPAC as Upper Deck's killer app because it helps them reach people worldwide, even if they don't have a card shop. Yeah. And so it can grow the game for different sports. It can grow collecting various entertainment products without having to go anywhere or do anything. You can do everything at home. And sure, you can order stuff offline, and there's WhatsApp and all others, but the ability to buy a pack, open it, and know that you're getting everything in that pack, and not worry about breakers stealing it or most issues that you would expect in getting through the various parts of hobby collecting today. So I think it's marketing. It's focusing on here's what this platform is, here's what it's done. EPAC, it's real cards for you at home or something along those lines, where it focus on pushing that this is not a digital platform, that it is a digital delivery of physical cards.
Yeah. I think they walk that tightrope pretty well, actually, because they've always had, yes, they have EPAC exclusive sets, but I don't think that they're necessarily taking bread out of the mouths of the babies of the store owners with those. I can't see a lot of those brick and mortar stores wanting a Matrix weekly product necessarily in their house, for example. And it's definitely allowed them to be more reactive to movie releases. We know that all set manufacturers have this to a degree, but it was especially notable with Upper Deck just by virtue of process. I think that there's a delay with the set coming out. It might be 2-3 years after the movie comes out. I think EPAC's allowed them to have a product to come out, even if it's a really light product. Around the time the movies come out. The Superman promos they put out in the summer is a prime example of that. They might not be printed at the time they go on sale on Upper Deck EPAC, but people can buy them, and it helps. It's that symbiotic thing with the movie marketing and the ancillary products, of which Upper Deck EPAC and Upper Deck's product will be one of them. But it is interesting to me that while there are digital cards in there, it's just that message that yes, there are digital cards on the platform, but every single thing you get on the platform, with the exception of some of the free daily cards now, ladders to a physical product. A lot of the free daily cards don't anymore. I remember back in the day, you used to be able to get 20 of the free Doctor Strange ones, and you'd get a particular parallel. But they've always kept the release to physical stores before the EPAC release, in the same way that movies used to come out before VHS. Right. So it's kind of, it's not a new concept, that is, not to, what's the expression I want to, they don't shit where they eat in that regard. But I imagine they've got to still keep that brick and mortar a little bit happy along the way, and they do a pretty good job of that. I mean, they've just had their certified diamond dealers conference, and they look after those guys.
Yep, and there are still sets that are specific to physical stores. Like they keep, at least in the hockey side of things, they have a few sets that never make it to EPAC. They're specific for brick and mortar. While now has its own specific sets on top of the unique parallels and achievement cards that are available. And that's another area too. The achievement cards oftentimes won't have the same value of an auto, like for a top end name, for whether it's sports or entertainment. The achievement card auto may not have as much value outside of the heavy collectors who are aware of EPAC when they go to like eBay or something, because that achievement card isn't as well known, so people aren't looking for it.
Yeah, it's not.
They're not requiring themselves to collect that because it's not a thing, and it's another area where they could increase the marketing, is say, hey, not just that there are these achievement cards, but these are the big you can look for, and here's all the stuff that you're going to want to add to your PC for Connor McDavid or Superman. There are things that certainly marketing is one of the biggest things that I see as stuff that UD can overcome. But clearly the product is growing despite that.
Right. Yeah, I agree with Josh and Ben that probably an increase in marketing and education, especially probably in areas where they don't have shops, like Ben said, or many access to shops. But I mean, Upper Decks are, well, it may just be because of my algorithm, but on YouTube, I get ads for the Upper Deck Batman Metal, their ad that they did, and I think they've got a TGR game, Rush of Icor. I get ads for that too. So they're already doing some more marketing.
Are doing some social spend, okay.
And so they they could do some stuff for EPAC that way. I know that EPAC's been around for 10 years, and if somebody's commenting on an Upper Deck post, they should know about EPAC, but I still see the whole, why would I pay for a digital card or that sort of stuff. But some people have blinders onto that. I was in the comic book store yesterday, it moved to the mall, and they get a lot of new foot traffic. And I don't know how many times I heard people come in and say, oh, do they still make comic books? So you're still going to have, that element.
Yeah, you can't completely cater to all.
No,
intellect is the wrong word. To everyone's awareness of the world, shall we say?
Right.
I tell you what they have been doing, which I really like, which I for one have been saying to them for a while now, is to show more of the EPAC exclusive cards to people. So I remember my specific example I'm thinking of is the Matrix. Very early in that 10 weeks that the Matrix weekly ran, I think. Very early, week 1, week 2, they were doing like things on their Twitch feed with the PMGs in hand, which were the things you were laddering to. They were showing you the physical cards, and I think more of that for even the non-EPAC sets. Like the the hockey sets that may land and may have EPAC exclusive parallels. More of that sort of stuff. I think the thing that confuses me, and maybe this is just a meism, I don't know, but is Twitch the best platform to be reaching people? I don't know. I mean, gamers, I get it, but are you gonna reach your hockey fans via Twitch? I mean, I think they push them to YouTube as well. I'm not sure, but
yeah, I don't know.
Yeah, YouTube, and you would think maybe even getting their own WhatsApp channel might be of value to them, even if they're not going to sell through it, even if they just use it for marketing purposes. It could have.
Do you mean
value.
Whatnot or WhatsApp?
Yes. Whatnot.
Yeah.
Sorry, Whatnot, not
Do they
WhatsApp.
I just wanted to check because you said WhatsApp earlier on. I was like, I didn't know you could do that on WhatsApp, but okay, we'll go with it because I didn't want to interrupt you. But because you said it again, I was like, I just need to check that. Checks notes. Okay. But yeah, no. Whatnot's a whole other conversation. So let's park that one for the moment.
Discord.
Upper Deck's got a really good marketing opportunity to really advertise EPAC with the upcoming Harry Potter sets, because Harry Potter is going to draw in a big massive, but if nobody knows about it, then it's not going to happen.
Very true.
They've got to push that they've got these Harry Potter products, and then at the same time they can push, or I don't want to say push, but promote, reinforce, promote EPAC as another opportunity to gather, because I'm sure there'll be some exclusive Harry Potter stuff on EPAC as well. And, that fan base may be more inclined to use EPAC. But they've got an opportunity there to really promote EPAC with the Harry Potter, because I think that's going to be bigger. I think that's going to be bigger for Upper Deck than the DC license, but
it has the potential to be. Yeah. I mean,
I agree with that, and I think, if though it hasn't been, assuming they get the autograph rights for the big three from that series, and they have EPAC exclusive autographs, which you almost have to assume is going to be the case with this product, that they will that will draw in a huge audience to those cards.
I mean, it's. I mean, we could spend all day spitballing and giving them tips and pointers as to how to promote it and market it. But it's fascinating. That's a whole episode in and of itself. I'm sure they're busily scribbling down and taking notes and nodding at each other as they listen to this. So I'm just curious, really. The question I asked of the people on the Facebook group. So I posed the following question, basically. Your thoughts on your best experiences that you've had on EPAC, and also your worst experience, and any general thoughts on how it shaped the hobby in the past 10 years. So while you corral your mental acuity on that one, I'll start, because I've been giving this some thought. I'd say my best experiences on it, and I think this is true of a lot of people, is not only achieving what you're aiming for, but the network and the community that you build up doing so. Because one thing I've found, and I would hope this is true of a lot of people, and admittedly I've had the Facebook groups that I set up to help with this, but you kind of find your tribe in a way. You find the people that are kind of thinking the same as you, going after similar things to you, that you can bounce trades off, you can check values against, you can kind of, you'll all be buying products, and you'll pull that and you'll know that matey over there wants it, and then you can do something like that. I think that, and I can zero in on at least half a dozen product experiences and cards that I've found, and I'm sure you can as well. But I think that's the biggest thing for me in terms of the positives, is, I associate the value of the experience of going after certain things on EPAC I can't separate it from how I feel about that product, because the experience of going through it. And a prime example would be Marvel Annual 2018-2019. I had such a lot of fun, and I made genuine friends throughout that. I wouldn't be doing podcast content with Amanda had, I not met her around that time and gone through that process and pack wars. It kind of feels like you've kind of been in the trenches with someone. So I'd say that's probably a big one in my positive column. And I'm sure I can see Ben. I can see your face here. I'm sure you've probably got similar tales or experiences and seen it happening as well.
Yeah, for me, and I think Ian, it's a very small group of people like yourself and myself that have either started groups or taken over groups, led them for a long period of time. My largest joy nowadays is watching people develop the connections and achieve the cards they want, oftentimes without having to directly buy them, being able to create trades that are mutually beneficial, growing their networks, making real life friends. I've done this now for, God, I've been running that group since very early pandemic. And it is one of the great joys of my life in what I can help bring to the hobby. And the fact that I've been able to build my own collection a little bit and been able to do a lot of achievements and have some fun. But it's largely, so from my point, obviously kind of a minority take in this. It's watching everyone else get the experience that they're getting and helping them get value out of this product and teach them grow in understanding values of cards and the product, the platform itself. But in terms of like the day-to-day aspect of it, I agree. It's like one of my very good friends is a guy that I met in a physical card group, and we went to EPAC and then really built our friendship. And it turned out he only lived, 10 miles from me now that I'm out here in Massachusetts. And that, and along with some others, that it's really just you work together, like you said, the being in the trenches, when you're helping each other do every achievement and you're tag teaming these things and working on them, it adds a lot of value to the overall specific memories of that specific set. And then the counteract to that is, of course, the set don't go well, you're both like, yeah, I'm never doing that again. So
yeah, exactly. How about you, Josh?
Just one thing that always will stick out with me is my first big venture with trades was I was always a big Spider-Man guy, kind of try to keep that, but in the past I was pretty heavy into Spider-Man. And so Holland, when they had the Holland auto card with the Iron Spider suit, beautiful card, had to have it. I opened up I think I bought 2 boxes of Black Diamond, and I hit a Sebastian Stan auto. I was crushed. Not a bad auto, beautiful card, cool character, just not for me. And so I got a message, somebody who was a Sebastian Stan fan. They were offering a couple different trades on the card, and I looked into their inventory and saw they had 2 Tom Holland autos in that Iron Spider. And I was like, man, nobody needs 2. And so we were able to work out a trade, and it was just a great experience. And that was my first, reinforcement of like, wait a second, this is kind of an easy, smooth, way of, because obviously your PC stuff, you can click yourself. But stuff's out there. People who are looking for it, are usually willing to offer you pretty fair deals. And so my experience with it was pretty awesome for that jump. And then Pack Wars, I did have fun with, annual Pack Wars and stuff was just something different. It was just a way to, look at the cards, kind of go through an experience, meet some people, hit a couple plates and a couple cool little things from it. And, really, really all good. As far as negative experience goes, you just be careful about spending. Masterpiece comes along and I click the button a lot. But really, that's easy to manage. It's a little self-control there. I really have loved everything about it. Haven't had a bad experience on it yet, so I'm a fan of what they're doing there. Just needs to continue to develop.
Jason, you've been having a good old dabble of late. What's your kind of what's your biggest upside?
I haven't been. I mean, I've been a little more active. I've been buying a pack here and there as they've dropped new products, but I was really into it in 2019 when I joined. I was, I guess, bored and wanted to burn money, and so I sat down and I had fun with it. I started with
I think you've nailed. Sorry, I think you've nailed the new marketing slogan. Bored, wants to burn money.
Yeah.
Log on to upperdeck.com. There you go.
We could have said that. We just still bought it.
You could, yeah, exactly. Sorry, carry on, Jason. Apologies.
Yes.
Maybe a little too on the nose, but
yeah. I mean, I'm being, cheeky, but it's that's kind of what I did. But yeah, I got in. I really enjoyed 2018, 2019 annual. I knew Ian from but from the Masterpiece group. But then when I got onto EPAC, I joined the other Marvel group, and I know he helped me out with some trades early on to build the base set on 2018, and then I got into Spider-Man 2017 Spider-Man shortly after that, and also 80th Marvel 80th when that released in 2020. So, and then just playing with the other Marvel sets that they had on their Doctor Strange and Black Panther, some of that, so it was fun. And once they started having more Marvel blasters available, I tapered off a little bit. But I had fun, opening products and seeing stuff I hadn't seen before and stuff that'd been there for years, like 2016 Marvel Annual, 2017 Marvel Annual, developing kind of, wanting to do rainbows of characters or things like that. And then discovering ComC and just going down that rabbit hole of seeing stuff I hadn't seen or didn't know about, and how easy it was to ship stuff, and just meeting different folks and trading. I would say that base trading is pretty smooth. When you get into some higher level stuff, you get some bogus offers or people kind of hassling you a little bit on trades. You just kind of have to ignore them or block them or say I'm not interested or whatever. But other than that, it's been a pretty positive experience. It's easy for me to go really heavy and spend too much because I get that. That's why I don't gamble, is because like you want that red flasher, like, so you kind of get addicted to that. So you got to kind of taper, go easy. And I don't know if y'all probably know about it, but I was looking at my EPAC account. They have badges for, like, you get a badge when you first log on and after this. So I was looking at my badges, and I logged on. When I joined was December 1st, 2019. And I got the Pack Fanatic badge, open 100 packs cumulative. I earned that on December 15th, 2019.
Wow.
So
I'm just going to the badges earned now. Oh, here we go. So yeah, my first login. This is a revelation. Thank you, Jason.
You're
my
welcome.
First login was the 13th of July, 2017.
Okay.
So close. So close. But then I didn't really start kicking into it properly until 2018. You get the dedication one when you log in 30 times, once per calendar day.
Mm-hmm.
And I think it's rarely been a day where I don't log in. So yeah, wow. Okay, yeah, I've just found all these badges. There's loads. EPAC Fanatic, log in 365 times. So you've got to have logged in for like every day for a year. I earned that on the 1st of February 2020. Opened a pack. My first pack opening was 13th of July 2017. 100 packs on the 1st of July 2019. So I was pretty slow to begin with. But yeah, wow. Okay. Sorry, that was way too much information that nobody needed. But I'm just excited that you found that. Thank you, Jason. So, I mean, downsides of it. I think you do get the user behavior. Basically, downsides are other people. As well as the good sides, it's the rough with the smooth. Unfortunately, Ben knows what I mean. You've got all human behaviour. So unfortunately, you do have people who take the piss, for want of a better word. You do have people, unfortunately, who, and I have to believe, and Ben, you can probably verify this because I think you see a lot more EPAC usage and feedback on usage. I have to believe that it's the minority rather than the majority. That it's a very very, very small proportion of people who are getting up to stuff. Yeah.
I would say that it can feel, if you're using the forum a lot in particular, it can feel like a lot of people, because the minority will spam the majority. They will really lead into a large volume of bad trade offers. It can also be, there are a lot of parts to the downside of this. The downside is a minority of the experience, but it can certainly, especially for folks whose job it is to resolve disputes and solve problems, that it can feel a lot of it. Some of it is very clearly that the people who are trying to get up to stuff, largely trying to scam other users by making offers or potentially steal cards by hiding good cards in stacks of cheap base, will brazenly try this as many times as possible to as many people as possible. And so it will feel like a larger proportion than what it is. And then you also have just general bad behavior people who only want their own values, and so they're rude to other people, obnoxious. There's general bad behavior in the forum, that kind of thing, that there's very little, you can report the post in the forum itself. And certainly I now have gone a little extra judicial in the fact that I no longer just say what happens in my group is in my group. If you're mistreating members in the forum, I consider that the same as behavior. If you're rude to them, if you're a member, you shouldn't be that way towards anybody in the forum either, because it doesn't matter where you are. It's still going to wind up back in my DMs that people are misbehaving. So, but in general, it's the people with really bad attitudes. It's the people who want to throw their money around and act like big and it's the scammers. And that's really the entirety of the bad experiences, other than problems with the platform itself. It's a relatively small the time. It's why our groups are 6,000 and 8,000 per, roughly a piece, Ian, because the large majority of the users are great people who want to work together and help each other get cards.
Yeah, which is what it's all what it should be all about at the end of the day. Actually, you touched on it then. I wasn't going to go there just yet, but let's talk about that. The technical glitches. I will say EPAC is a bit of a learning curve. I've seen people comment that it's not massively intuitive. I think I disagree with that to a degree. I mean, it's not. I wouldn't say it's a badly designed site, bearing in mind the fact that it has to do an awful lot. There's a lot of functionality there. There's a lot of different ways to approach sending a trade. There's a lot of different ways to search for cards. There's a lot of different combinations of routes to the same result. So I think the platform is quite complex by the fact that it maybe needs to be. That said, it is a learning curve, but it's not necessarily just the learning how to drive the car. The car itself does have some particularly egregious niggles where it maybe doesn't work quite so well. I mean, I guess my biggest ones are on sales where it crashes, especially in the early days of the weekly packs, the Marvel weekly packs. That was a nightmare. It would take you half an hour to do a purchase sometimes. Obviously, Marvel Unbound, we saw crashes. I don't know what it's like on the hockey side, Ben, for that sort of thing.
It has in general across the board gotten better. There are shopping cart limitations as to how many connections and how many packs could go into carts at the same time was for quite a while an obstruction to purchasing. That has largely changed largely across the board. Even the most in-demand sites generally don't bring the site down. Occasionally you'll see outages when they are both heavy usage periods and they're loading the next large project or the next large product. That can bring the system down because they're really hammering the back end of it. I think the biggest challenge these days, people are about that the UI has some significant impediments to doing things faster. Like, for example, the ability to add bulk cards to a trade. If you want to send 500 base, it's a lot of clicking. The limitations on how many cards can be in a base because people will sell counts or do large base trades to help each other finish achievements, and you're stuck at 500 cards a trade, which not, for the average trade, not a big deal because the average trade is probably 1 to 10 cards, somewhere in that range, I would bet, going each direction. And then there are, then there's just the technical glitches that come from data. I experienced something 2 weeks ago that I have never experienced before. I made, and as it was accepted, the picture of one of the cards disappeared. The person I sold the card, it was a sale of an individual card. And so I got a base back and she got a card. When she transferred it off to send it home, she got charged. And then the card disappeared from her inventory. She got refunded for the transaction, but the card just essentially disappeared. So there was some sort of data glitch where the record just went bad of the trade. And when she reported into UD said they couldn't even see that the trade had occurred. So it was a data glitch. This happens as somebody who in their non-hobby life runs for a significant sales organization and runs billions of records of data. I see this happen sometimes. And so I reported the trade from my side, screenshot showing, hey, the image of the card doesn't show here, but here's what it was. And so they'll track it down and fix it for her. But there are definitely updates that could be done to change the user experience. I requested a list of enhanced. I sent it late last year, probably October, somewhere in there, because there were, these are the things are needed. But to further the discussion and step back to hear more from you guys, the one thing that I think would be the most important change, a true product manager to run ePack to set the schedule of releases so that each product is like hockey product on top of each other. Entertainment products happen more frequently and that they're aligned more to a schedule across all of ePack, and that we schedule the same way that stores get release schedules on products.
Yeah. Yes. Absolutely. I don't quite understand why they do things the way they do things, but I think it's really sometimes a lot of the time I don't mind it because I'm used to it, but sometimes I start thinking about it and I get really annoyed at the fact they give you like a day's notice sometimes for something to drop. Because all of a sudden you're scurrying, you might not have the money, you might not be in a position where you can do. Yeah, what if you're traveling and you're not going to be able to be on as much? I genuinely don't understand why they don't do that more. And I tell you what I find annoying as well. If I'm going to be really pedantic about stuff, is the weight of notifications, especially on a Thursday, that pop up on the site. It's like, at least give users the ability to opt out of notifications about stuff they're not into. But yeah, do spread it out a little bit. I mean, I find the game dated stuff gets a bit crowded. I like the idea of that, but because they've started doing it for more things now, they've started doing it for the women's hockey stuff as well. As well as I think they've got the Canadian Football League license, I believe, haven't they, Ben? There's a lot of that as well. And they tried to do something similar with surfing last year, which I was actually quite intrigued by, because I was quite digging some of the images on the surfing card, not being saucy or anything. There were both males and females that looked incredibly physically fit. But regardless of that, the photography on them was really good, because they're surfing at the end of the day, so they're actually pretty damn good looking cards. So I kind of wish they'd do a little bit more of that, to kind of pull you into the sports side as a majority non-sports person. I don't know, Josh, Jason, have you got any kind of thoughts on your if you could write Upper Deck a letter with suggested improvements, what would be after Dear Upper Deck?
Oh, I mean, I think Ben hit it, the schedule, because finding out a day before, DC Pack Wars is finally dropping, or hey, here comes the boys, or what have you. You may not be able to be at your computer right when it happens, or if it's a new weekly pack that you may be interested in, finding out even 2 days before can be a little discombobulating. But yeah, so some kind of schedule of e-pack releases, so people can kind of plan for it, I think is really the biggest one. And then, we do, if there was a way to separate what notices you get, because I get a lot of collect forever up, new. They seem like, and I'm not really into that per se. And they do a lot of game dated moments now, because I know that there's been golf ones and wrestling ones, and every now and then if it's something I'm interested in, I'll buy it. Like I bought a Tiger Woods one, and I bought a wrestling one. The schedule, I think, would be the big one for me.
Yeah, because they do it. Thing is, they do it on the comms, on your preferences. You can choose to select emails about different things, like entertainment, hockey, wrestling, whatever it may be. You can do that. So why you can't? I think that's a fairly basic thing. If I was going to sign up to eBay, eBay's a ridiculous example, but eBay saved searches. If you were getting them every day for loads of products that you hadn't signed up for your saved searches by, you'd be pretty annoyed about that. Plus, you'd have an awful lot of emails, because eBay's a big platform. So that's probably a really bad example, but you get what I mean on that one. Josh.
Yeah. And they do through some of the emails. Sorry.
Oh, you're good.
No, you carry on, Ben.
I was just going to share that they do through some of the emails sporadically. They had been doing it for a while, and then they stopped for a while, and then they just dropped this week, where at least in the hockey side, they say what's coming soon at the very bottom of their monthly email. And so the biggest product on the hockey side is Ultimate. It's a 3-month-long chase, and I've talked about it in episode 139. It's kind of my favorite thing. The one that's coming, they've announced that they don't give you when. They list the next couple of products, but they don't say how far off they are. Sometimes they've been a week, sometimes they've been 2. So it helps a little bit, but it still isn't what a true schedule would look like, the same way that drops at a brick and mortar card store would look like.
Josh, back to you.
Sir. So I would say to kind of echo, what was said prior. the marketing end, to make sure you reinforce that, whatever the right terminology is, whether it's click to print or, physical, transfer, these cards are real. The marketing of it, I've gotten some of my on my feeds, I've gotten some of the Upper Deck stuff that's coming out, but I think create a little bit more awareness, continue to kind of, create exposure, like Jason said, with Harry Potter coming out. That's a big opportunity to reinforce, the people you've already got, and grow quite a bit. One thing is the scans. Some of their achievement cards have been phenomenal. So they've been well done. They were well thought out. They're not just a fun chase. They're some of the best looking cards. Some of my favorites that Upper Deck does. I love it when they go off on a really nice achievement card that's super different. But the scanning process is difficult to appreciate, not just some of the best achievement cards, but a lot of the parallels. And I've seen platforms like One Piece is the first one that comes to mind, where however they're scanning, I mean, maybe there's some opportunity to actually have a scan that is much more true to form. I understand the volume that they deal with and what that entails, but when you go that far to make a card that nice, it should be viewed that way, even from your laptop. It's going to make people want to chase it, to the degree of when they can really truly appreciate it. So, but they're doing a lot of things right, and I'm interested to see where it goes.
Yeah, the scanning. I mean, and I know they've got a bunch of cards they have to scan. So
volume is their kryptonite there.
Their volume, they have a high volume, but I know, and I've said it before, there's been cards I've gotten from EPAC, and when I get them home and look at them, I'm blown away because I was not expecting them to look like that. I mean, even the 2018-19 Marvel Annual Rainbow Color Wheel, those were just the foiling on the border. I was, really surprised by those. And I don't know what they're called. On the Punisher set, there's like a storyboard or art cards. They have signature subset, and I got one of those, and it has rainbow foil border. They're amazing. You can't tell on the scan.
I didn't even know the color wheels were foiled until I got some in.
And then the 2017 Marvel Annual Achievement for doing the color wheel base, you got a X23 card, and it was a thick, like 32-point card. I don't know if scan would be able to tell you that, but it was like a thick card. It was. I still have it. It's pretty cool.
Nice. Yeah. No, the scanning. I mean, dark cards will always. Sorry. Shiny cards will always scan dark. I think whoever's doing it, but yeah, you would have thought by now Comsy could have sorted that out, because they're the ones that do all that. Shall we? I'm gonna throw over to some of the comments, because we had some really good stuff, some really good folks contributing. I'm gonna start off with maximum salty over minimum words. Our friend Keith Boyle commented when I posted and said, 10 years. Wow. They don't look a day over 3 months old in terms of innovation and usability, which I think is an absolute burn. Wonderful. So that said, let's go to some other folks. So I posted on the I didn't post on your group actually, Ben. The reason being, it's not a dig, but just to explain why I didn't, is that I posted it from the podcast page. Because when I posted it, I shared it to groups. It gives you the option to share to groups, and because you don't allow pages to be in your group, that's why I didn't. And it only occurred to me like 2 days later that I could have then shared the post as me into your group, but I didn't do it in the end, because we already had some good feedback, and I'd have been here all week reading stuff out. So Chris Stiles, he's a big X-Files collector, so no surprise that his best experience I'm a fan of the achievements for some high-end cards. My X-Files hunt was an insane one. And I think that's an interesting one, actually. They did do it on a Marvel Spider-Man set as well, where you had an achievement that didn't just go for that set. It was multiple sets. Now, I think that's possibly done more in the hockey side. I'm looking at you here, Ben, because I'm not familiar with it. I know there's a couple of hunts that go over multiple products. Am I right?
Yeah. The flagship sets are the only ones that have it in multiple products. The Series 1, Series 2, and Extended, they have a marathon chase that leads to high-end rookie autographs that for the past few years. And it sort of, as the extended set often has mostly lower end rookies and more inserts and parallels, that it kind of gives a driving motivation to push for that set, I think.
Gotcha. Okay. Well, X-Files, because they did the free sets and they released them, I think they were a bit slow in coming out, actually, but by the time they released them all, I think you had an achievement that crossed all three sets. I can't remember how many autos it was now. Was it a double-sided auto card, I want to say? But I know Chris Styles was going big on that set, exceptionally so. So when they did get that final achievement, that was quite a good one. His worst experience, there are a few whales on there. They buy 10 cases on release and leave the cards on the marketplace rather than trade. It's frustrating. So actually, let's talk about that. Let's talk about folks who either just don't respond at all, or cards that are stuck in clearly dead accounts. I mean, I think this is actually one area that Upper Deck will eventually need to address. If you've got a dead account that's been dead since, I don't know, let's just say 2018, and it's got a chunk of really high-end Marvel Masterpieces 2016 in it, at what point? I don't know. I guess legally it is still that person's property.
Mm-hmm.
But I've said this before. My mind always goes back to Storage Wars.
Oh yeah.
Yeah.
I don't know. I think there should be.
Yeah.
I genuinely
the terms
think
of service.
Carry on, Ben.
Yeah, the terms of service allow for them to essentially take any cards out of any accounts that they it's very loosely stated as for any reason can remove any product from any account. But I do think what's far more likely to happen, at least in the very litigious United States of today, is that as soon as word comes that Upper Deck is doing this, log in, find that their cards are gone, and then lawsuit class action style sues Upper Deck into oblivion. I think that's what concerned that has stopped them from moving forward on reclamation of cards that are just dead and also costing Upper Deck storage.
Yes.
COMC.
Yes, but
and so
that's why I think they'll need to address it at some point.
It's an interesting conundrum, because certainly it will also cause concern among users that Upper Deck could just take their cards even if they are not dead accounts. And for those of us who keep all of our cards on the account, it came up when the authority got introduced, because it was clear from a lot of rumors that were going on around COMC that maybe Upper Deck was looking to move away from them. Upper Deck clarified for me directly that they will make sure that no one ever loses cards that are in an account. If they'll make sure that cards are always available, so those people say wouldn't just lose them if like COMC went out of business or something. But so the question is do we do something with the dead accounts? That gets brought up a lot because a lot of people want those McDavid Young Guns or old high-end masterpieces that belong to someone else, and those people just don't want to. Those people aren't around to trade them, or for, as you say, the whales who have large volumes of who simply aren't interested in moving those cards for what they're being offered, or at all. And why don't they lock? Why doesn't Upper Deck give people the ability to mark things just for show, so we don't have to have PC accounts? So it's a really interesting conundrum, because there certainly are users out there. I could think of 5 or 6 by name, and I won't get into that, but there are people out there that just hoard cards, and some of them are active collectors who will trade with you on some stuff, and others just never move anything.
Yeah, you got two sides to it then, haven't you?
Something that comes to mind, I feel like really needs to be said, is about 2-3 weeks ago, somebody who was in our group in the past and is no longer in the group, and they passed away early, young, way too young, medical complications, something. This person had invested a large amount of money into EPAC, into crypto, into a few things. After this happened, because it was a sudden type of thing, a lot of this person's assets, which a large volume into EPAC, are all unavailable to the wife, where she's almost in a near panic mode trying to access somebody who had a decent amount of assets. So please communicate, if you're to your spouse, to your whoever it is, somebody you trust, have a backup. Have a backup, because things can happen quick, and when they do, I've seen very recently, just 5 minutes ago, the fallout of somebody trying to trace down your digital history and trying to follow these places where you may or may not have. If you spent a little bit too much money, get over it, stop spending too much, but just be honest and make sure that your loved one or somebody knows. Because it's embarrassment that some people don't say, hey, this is my account, I bought a little too much, but it's like, in case something happens to me, he's going to need to access this. This is assets. They're not, we love them and enjoy them for other reasons, but this is important when a family's moving on from a passing. And talking about these accounts from people who have either been no longer active and who are also no longer with us. Talk about it, keep some sort of line of communication open with somebody, because they wouldn't want this stuff to go to oblivion. Not something that they enjoy, that they care about. They're stewards of the hobby. A lot of us are in some respect. So yeah, communicate, whether it's in the safe, lay down a couple backups of some passwords and some usernames, and please.
That's interesting, actually. I'm not sure that I need to think some on the privacy and data protection angles of this, but having the ability to add a legacy contact on your account,
yes,
would obviously go some way to that. I know of at least half a dozen collectors, some of whom were friends, who have passed away, and obviously COVID would have had an impact on that front as well. So yeah, I imagine there are dead accounts, without meaning to be making light of that are literally that, because the user has unfortunately passed away. And so then it does get messy. But yeah, I agree. I mean, the legality of it is probably a minefield on the ones that are genuinely inactive, because the whales are something else. They're clearly the account is clearly active. We might not be able to see what they're doing, but Upper Deck can from the back end. They'll, everything should be getting logged. Every user action you would think is getting logged in the back end. Any decent system should have that, just as a cybersecurity 101. So so that would be there. But yeah, no, that's an interesting one. I'm sure. Maybe they have, maybe they haven't. I'd hope that it's somewhere in the hopper for them to be discussing, when they're thinking about, okay, what are the next 10 years of EPAC going to look like? Not just from the how it looks kind of way, but in terms of the CSR side of things, the corporate social responsibility. At the end of the day, that is something that businesses of Upper Deck Stripe should be taking seriously, one would hope. That's interesting. That's interesting. Matt James, in the pop culture group, first purchase was a Marvel Ages pack called a Spider-Man Fresnel SSP, or Fresnel, as a lot of people are mispronouncing it. Made my entry very worthwhile. I haven't been smutty this podcast, and I'm not going to start now. I've also heard other stories of first purchases getting good hits to keep people involved. Addiction is a problem for some too, so more safeguards in place might be beneficial. So, yeah, I mean that's an interesting one. The whole new user, and I know people have set up accounts specifically to test this out, and from what I recall, the results are kind of inconclusive. I don't know if it actually happens or not.
Yes.
Would that be correct to say, Ben? That there's no proof either way?
Yeah, absolutely. Yeah, there's no proof either way. People do set up a lot of new accounts when new sets come out. Catch that, hey, this is a new collector hit. But if you are a software person, you understand that computers cannot do true random number generation, which is how packs get assigned. There is an odds to a card, to a set. Anyways, there's each subset has an odds within the whole set. And then the random number generator has pack and box and case ratio, and those all come into play. But a true random number generator doesn't really exist. At the end, there's a kernel at the very bottom that's essentially spitting out, numbers, and that's what determines what cards you get, is the randomness and the ratios. And those lack of a generator can, for lack of a better term, get a little stuck sometimes and be spitting out more. The more it's being used, the more likely you are to see the rarer cards come up. So when a new set releases, people are setting up new accounts to try and hit on that. And what's really most likely happening is simply the sheer volume of cards being purchased leads to more of the big hits coming out early in the set. And that's why it looks like, hey, I created a new set and I hit a couple of big cards on the first pack I bought. The random likeliness of a big card coming versus card is really just odds and ratios, and the fact that your X account purchased in this particular spot when this number hit.
Yeah. You've also got sharing bias as well, because everyone shares it. So you see a lot of stuff like that. So you assume it's the weight of what's actually happening, when in reality, no one's. We say this all the time. Everyone posts the hits, no one posts the shits. So
right.
Or maybe I've just made that up, but I kind of like it as a rhyme. But it is true. Sometimes people do post videos of rubbish. I have before, just to kind of balance, to try and bring balance to the force. But you're kind of shouting into the wind on a busy release when that happens.
Yeah, I've always had a curiosity behind. I try to keep a mental track of what products I purchased heavy into, and what brands and stuff were my best hits out of physical. And so I try to keep some of this in my mind. And I have to be honest, my e-pack history is obviously much more limited, but is certainly been much more successful as far as quality of hits. I just do better. I don't do as much e-pack, but I always tend to do better in comparison to most of my physical. And that's something that's just a strange element for me. It can come down to luck, can come down to, sometimes we get these characters like, that we're not a fan of, and we get them for 6 months in all different products, these curses and other things. But I genuinely have had really good ratio of hits on e-pack purchases compared to physical. So it's always kind of made me wonder.
Okay, interesting.
Well, some of that likely too, when you think about from a software perspective and a product perspective, when you are buying a box at a store, your odds are only against whatever was in that box. The whole run is available to you, but whatever was in that box is the only odds that you have. If you buy pack level on ePack, your opportunity is again everything that's on ePack. So you're not constrained within what's been packed into a particular box. It's your odds could be you could literally hit any card that ePack has put on the platform. So there is a likelihood that you have a slightly better chance of hitting because you're not constrained by only what came to your store.
That's great.
That's interesting, actually. That the kind of way my head goes with that is entering a state level lottery as opposed to entering a national level lottery. You've got a bigger pool to win from. I guess is probably a really simplistic way of thinking about it, but that's where my understanding goes with that. There's an interesting comment. A lot of people have echoed the same comments, and Matt obviously said addiction is a problem for some. Trevor Selman, it says old school. This is best experience, the Thor Ragnarok set. What a great set that was. Here's a lot of nice cards, including a Hemsworth and a Tess Thompson dual auto. Nice. Worst experience, checking the PayPal account afterwards. But it sure does make buying cards easy. I mean, on that front, I don't know. People can overspend on all sorts of things. Maybe they're on eBay and they're overspending. Maybe they're on Amazon or overspending. They just happen to be on Upper Deck's website and they're overspending. Doesn't mean it's Upper Deck's fault necessarily. But yeah, I don't know. I know Upper Deck have, when you reach out to them, said that they will set certain accounts to not be able to buy on a user request. But I think having a kind of a take a break button or a throttle button or something, something within the user's control on the dashboard would be a great addition. Because I've gotten into trouble from it, and I know a lot of users who've massively overspent, some to the detriment of their own relationships. So yeah, while there is an area of personal responsibility with that, and that's true of anything online, I think it's only appropriate that you at least give some consideration to the fact that you might want to look out for your customers in that regard. I don't know. I've always felt that there should be slightly more there.
Yeah.
Don't know.
Yeah, but you're right. Hey, we're aware of this, and we do have thoughts and concerns over it. And in everything, moderation. That's why I say I know a lot of us are private about our collections and stuff like that, but I don't think you have to be private about your information and your security, but not private about your activities and what you're doing there. If you're worried about talking to somebody about what you've bought and spent, then you probably are skirting the line of overspending and going a little too far. It's good to have checks and balances and a few people around that you can talk to about this, and that kind of keeps some, because somebody that's not in it like you are is able to say, hey, okay, I know these are worth something and they're real, and you're actually going to have these as part of your collection, but are you you're not. Oh, it's easy to overspend online on all different platforms and stuff, and so
But then if you introduce the word odds into the equation, then it is, by definition, in my brain at least, airing into the area of gambling. Once you
casino.
Have odds to a thing, exactly.
It's always been card casino to me.
Yeah, and so when I'm just looking at the footer on the site, just something in there. In the UK, a lot of the betting sites have to have like Gamble Aware, which are resources and helplines and things like that. I'm not saying that people. It's not going to slow down your sales. It's just going to mean that from a company point of view, you're indicating that you care quite a lot about the direct-to-consumer platform, about the consumer that you're speaking to. I don't think it all just has to be, no, we don't want to do that because we just want to sell. I'm not saying they say that, but, I don't know.
Yeah.
It's good to think about.
It is.
Yeah, and I do think there might be a risk that there might be if they admit, if they put that kind of self-spending limitation on there, that then it opens them up to essentially admitting that there's a gambling component, and then they might find themselves under a different form of governance that they may be trying to avoid. And that's just a guess, but I think realistically, something as simple as, hey, do you find that you enjoy cards too much sometimes? Here is a self-limiting button. And if you are updated, it updates, you can change it how you want, but it doesn't change, it doesn't take effect until tomorrow. So you have time between the time you set that button and tomorrow to think spending and sort of a forced cool down. As someone who, and I'm sure you've seen the notifications in the post when big sets come out in my site, I have dealt with the results of people overspending in my group from the very beginning. One of the things that I hated about it when I first joined this group, and it had no moderation at all, was people who would overspend and would be desperate to either get some money back for bills or get more cards would be dramatically taken advantage of, because they'd come in and say, I didn't really hit anything. Here's all these cards for $20 or whatever. And they'd have massively overspent at that point. And so starting by, and then on top of that, then actually helping people who have, or maybe their relationship is at stake or their bills are at stake or whatever, and needing to get out from under that so that they can sell and get some support. So every major release that is one where people might invest heavily, I put up a post saying, hey, remember, think smart. Just 50 Young Guns post of the big guy that you want doesn't mean you're going to get one, doesn't mean you're going to get one in one box or 6 boxes. So think smart about this. There are serious consequences to this when people go too far. So I do think some very simple changes made to add a self limiter that then updates the next day, which causes at least a few minutes to a few hours of hesitation before making more purchase or raising your limit, would provide some support in that area, I think and so. Could help people.
I think it's fairly simple. Yeah.
Maybe they don't have addiction issues, self-control issues.
Yeah, exactly. You don't have to be. It's not one end of the spectrum or the other. There's a lot of steps along that path. To the point, they already have to put odds on the packets and have a no purchase necessary thing. So you can mail into Upper Deck and just have a random draw without buying a single pack for any product they've got. So there already are legal requirements that they have to do that. No, it's an interesting one. That I do like that idea of having that kind of timer limit on, because a lot of it is impulse control. Certainly for me, if sometimes I'll be buying a pack and I know I shouldn't really buy a pack or whatever it might be, 2 packs, 4 packs, and PayPal will crap out, and I kind of take that's maybe a sign, and it kind of stops me.
Yeah,
it kind of stops me.
Right.
But anyway. Interesting one, this. Biggest grievance is that the base cards on there are practically worthless. I think if you complete the base set, you should be able to redeem it for a physical sealed factory set or something. I'm not sure on that one, because the base cards, if you get multiples of the base cards, you can usually get a physical card of some kind. So, but I think the base cards being worthless, I think, again, yes, there are levels to this, and a lot of people will do that. But my approach to EPAC has always been, and admittedly I'm probably in the minority of this, is that I've still spent some money to acquire those base cards if I bought a pack, so I'm still ascribing some value to them. Very few people will probably want to have them, and I'm not saying they're worth $5 each, but I'm also not going to just completely give them away. I had a guy who was trying to do a trade recently. And he added on loads of base cards, and he said, well, to me, the base cards are worthless. And this was for a Bond set that had just dropped, and people were still building Rainbow Parallels and, Gold Rainbow Parallels, where you 10x or 100x the base card. So, no, they're not completely worthless, and I'm not just going to give them away, but he wouldn't do the trade without me adding them on for free. And the one card to one card swap was already balanced. Yeah, it's interesting. I think that's always going to be a subjective opinion on the base cards for a lot of people.
Yeah, Yes, because for the most part, the base cards, a lot of them are digital, yes, but they all, like, for the most part, they lead to something. You know, combine them, and sometimes the combine, if you do combine all 100 cards, or rainbow foil, you get an achievement card, or you can at least
that's physical.
Yeah, that's physical.
That's what
a physical achievement, or they lead
or
to
parallel
something.
that's exclusive.
Yeah, parallels, or that you can ship home, in a parallel that you can only get on ePack. So
right.
they have their purpose. But if you're not into that, then I can see why you got this thing sitting around. But I like them. I mean, they're but that's
right. Let's have a look. There's some great ones on MCCW, as you'd expect. Wigan PI, the card investor. So the card investor, but he's been around for a while. Ben, you'll probably know him. Really nice guy, really fair. He's commented, there were definitely growing pains, and the ePack team tried to navigate this new space in the hobby. But the one thing I have to say is, at the very least, Upper Deck was responsive. There are a lot of issues that can't be solved overnight, but they actually took our voice into consideration for changes in the future. Sometimes they were able to implement those adjustments within months, other times it took a bit longer, but our feedback was not met on deaf ears, and for that, as a collector, I was grateful. I think that's true. I think they're always open to be, feedback.
Absolutely. Absolutely. They've been great about
Ben,
that.
You're very proactive at sending them stuff based on what you've said, and passing along, community feedback.
Yep. When the authority announcement came out, there was obviously a lot of concern across hobby, like the entirety of the ePack usability, and collections that were largely at one place. How was that all going to happen? And so we provided a lot of questions to both Upper Deck and the authority. Some they didn't, but they did provide some surety. The primary thing was they provided some surety that your account's going to be safe, and that these changes are not related to a company going out of business or anything like that. And so I think again, it comes back to, I do still think that, much like their product lines has a product manager, the platform should have a platform or product manager who can take responsibility for all of that and have a single voice to lead the effort. I think that would be dramatically helpful. And they may have someone behind the scenes, because obviously the people who create the authority were the people that coded the ePack site in its most recent iteration these past few years.
Yeah.
And so someone was the Dynamics. The product manager at Dynamic may serve as the product manager for the software platform, but in terms of like how it's utilized and how changes are made and information is shared, that could all probably go through a massive improvement.
There's some old school people here. Brian Davison. My first 3 packs were all 2016 masterpieces, so he must have been in there since 2016. They contained a Gambit sketch, a Venom Carnage BSG, Battle Spectra Gem, and a Sith Auto. We didn't know how good we had it. And someone else saying, Andy Salazar, I only wish I'd been there sooner and could see ePack during its prime. Jumping into ePack during X-Men Metal was not great timing. I think, I'm not sure about the prime part. I think if you're looking at certain products being active and having a lot going on and being available, then I guess you could see that as a prime period. I wouldn't say the site is any worse now. It's all relative to the product, I guess, isn't it? What's available.
Yes.
If you go to a restaurant and what's on special isn't very good, doesn't mean the restaurant's no good. Just means that the day you went, it's not a great special.
Early on, you had, depending on what you were into, you had there was a variety of Marvel products. Like when I popped on, there was quite a bit, and it was all different price levels, and there was comic book based stuff, MCU stuff, and different levels, so you could kind of have what your preference or budget allowed on stuff. And as those eventually sold out, then we started getting not as many Marvel options, and then those sometimes would sell out quick, and the prices started to go up, so we kind of lost. We didn't have our $2.99 2016 Marvel annuals, or however I forgot how much they were, but we had some of those.
$2.99.
Yeah, $2.99. Like Doctor Strange was not too expensive, and those got so we had it good back in the day. We still have it good, but it was fun to kind of get some of those lower end packs and open them up. And
it's all relative, I guess.
Yeah.
But someone's commented here. I think this is a really good thing. So about a year ago, we did an episode that said, "How do I collect Marvel if I don't have e-Pack?" Because I think it's not untrue to say that a lot of people wouldn't be able to or wouldn't collect Marvel and other things if e-Pack didn't exist. So, far be it there's a greater majority that maybe have yet to be convinced. There's also a lot of users that simply wouldn't be able to do. I mean, I wouldn't. I'm in England, so Upper Deck's Marvel license.
And your location,
they don't go in stores over here.
Over here in the States, there's plenty of areas where you depending on, I'm down at the end of a distribution chain, at the very end on a barrier island. So, we'll see products arrive, but it's always months after the big cities and wherever else. And your volume is contingent upon, how much allocation falls down that far. So, yeah, there's a lot of people who haven't experienced because of the platform. And so, and transit isn't so easy in some of those areas to get to a place that sells product or an LCS.
Yeah. But I'm thinking about all the collectors in Europe, the ones in Australia, New Zealand, other parts of the world who, there's a couple of guys in South America on who are active in Marvel. So when Emery Kriegsman says, when I got back into the hobby in 2021, I don't think I would have stayed if it not for e-Pack. It was the easiest and most economical way to build sets and obtain cards I wanted to collect. It was like a gateway drug. Through it, I got to comc.com to further expand my collecting sources. I'm sad that Upper Deck no longer had the Marvel license to continue using the platform. Well, obviously he's saying that from a Marvel point of view. I think it's worth saying, because I'm going to read one more comment out in a minute, and then we'll kind of start to wrap up. But there's another comment coming on that ends, e-Pack was fun, simple as that. I think that's it. e-Pack's not going anywhere. They're not going to shutter it overnight. I mean, they've lost the Marvel license, yes. And so, both of those comments came from the Marvel group. I think, there's obviously challenges with Marvel collectors now. How do they carry on collecting with e-Pack not being available? Well, e-Pack is still there. A lot of the cards are still on e-Pack. I know Marvel trading has gotten much more difficult because a lot of people don't log in as much because there's no new Marvel product. So if you're Marvel purely, but, e-Pack's not going out. I mean, you've just got... we've got a DC annual's just gone on to Pack Wars. We've had the Boys drop, Tiny Tina's Wonderland, which is admittedly is probably more of a niche license thing. He says, having opened a physical box of it, and he's looking at it now, and I still don't understand what I'm seeing. But that's because it's maybe not my thing. I think, but there's plenty of stuff coming. I mean, there's the Bond sets that are on there. There's some crazy stuff. That pirate set, Treasure Island.
Mm-hmm.
I mean, it's not my cup of tea, but you can't say there's not a lack of diverse stuff for different types of audience on the platform. Right. I mean, availability notwithstanding. So e-Pack isn't certainly isn't going anywhere. And it would be interesting to see where they go with it over the next few years.
Yeah.
So on that, I'm going to read from PJ Ryan. I feel that EPAC brought the community together. So we've talked about that already. It was a place you always turn to and find fellow Marvel collectors. This and a few other groups are phenomenal, and I've made some great friends through them. But EPAC allowed me to scratch the itch, even if it was already bleeding and should be left alone. I'm sorry, I'm a bit. That made me a bit squeamish. Actually, that's far too visual. That explanation. As a set collector primarily, there was nothing better than a complete set of EPAC exclusive parallels. The achievements were awesome too. Felt like being a kid again, saving wrappers or UPC codes or whatever, and earning that exclusive mail away figure or coin. I mean, I've never thought of it in those terms, but I guess it's not too dissimilar, is it?
Mm-mm.
All those. What was that whole thing?
No.
Was it
No.
Pepsi lids, or something like that? People had to collect back in the day.
Yeah, Pepsi points.
That's it.
Yeah, big endorsement with racing they had. You could get all the NASCAR gear, Jeff Gordon stuff.
And people would go around running at people's old bottles or old cans and things like that to be able to collect the points and stuff. So I guess it's not too dissimilar as a mechanic goes.
No.
I mean, where do we think they're going to go? I mean, it's not going to go anywhere. But they've had at least one major upgrade about 5 years ago. I don't know how much changed on the back end, but they certainly changed the way the front end looked. I don't think there was massively any extra usability. It just just made it look different. So I remember doing content at the time and saying, look, the functionality is the same. It's just it looks different in how you access it. So. I mean, do we think they're going to radically change it again in a way that will add in some of this functionality that we've talked about that we'd like to see? I mean, it's a big job.
I are certainly some very low-hanging fruit that they can make changes with as they grow. I mean, it certainly points to grow. They now have 2 different physical storage entities with COMC and the Authority. Whatever they're going to do in their long-term relationship with COMC, they currently, and for as long as there are cards stored at COMC, they have those 2. They are looking to grow into a phenomenally new license with Harry Potter. If the DC Marvel or if the DC movie universe grows as expected, and they integrate a Batman that is popular, and then they build the foundations on the Batman and the Superman relationship and build all the things around it, much the way that the was done, I think the DC franchise can expand a lot. And so if you look at all of the growth potential, plus obviously hockey's not going anywhere, and if they add, another other, more fringe sports as well around the main sports that are dominated by Tops and Fanatics, there's some opportunities for the growth of the user base of the product, and so they'll have to continue to grow the back end to support performance and speed and all of that. But there's some really low hanging UI fruits, like allowing larger trades, allowing bulk additions to trades, allowing more information about your history, like you've got to trade up. Have I traded with this person before? How many times? How many did I decline? That kind of stuff. Have I ever blocked them? Some very simple things that are all from a logging perspective that they could visualize in the front end and make a tremendous difference in the user experience. So I think they're going to have to evolve, especially as they're becoming potentially more integrated with the Authority. I think those 2 platforms will likely get the same flavor of upgrades over time, being that they're both written by the same company.
Yeah, exactly. Oh, how much money are we going to spend in the next 10 years then, folks? Let's start that now. Well, technically speaking, I've already started. Before we let you go, Ben, and thank you. Sorry, I'm sure your beloved is very patiently waiting for you to get off the call. So do thank her for us for letting us have some of your time this Sunday morning. before we go, should we open a couple of packs?
Absolutely.
Let's open a couple of packs.
Yeah.
Let's open a couple of packs. So I've got 2
Yeah, that
packs
sounds fun.
locked and loaded, and ready to go. So let me just do, which tab do I want to do? Hang on a second. Where is it? Where is it? No. Is it this one I want? Yes, it is this one. Here we go. And I've ticked on to share the system audio, just in case we actually hit something. So,
Nice.
for those listening at home, hashtag sorry not sorry. For those on the podcast stream, and for those watching the eventually released video of this, we have 2 packs of James Bond: No Time to Die. I'm sorry, Ben, I was never going to open hockey on this one, much as I'm sure you'd have liked me to, because I simply wouldn't.
That's okay. I love this product. I did.
So we've got 2 packs. This has 6 cards per pack. Now, I'd love it if something flashed and made a really big noise that would make me jump out of my seat. It is, however, just 2 packs, so let's not get too excited. I should have 4 digital base in here, and 2 physical, whatever they will be, I don't know. But let's go. So pack 1, we have lovely Lair Sado. That's digital base. The card's called He's Weird. I do find the card names really hilarious in No Time to Die. One of the ones I'm rainbowing is called Matilda's Little Doo-Doo.
Jeez.
It's a really masculine. It's a really masculine image of Bond as well. So it's like, what are you going to do? Next, They Will Not Kill You. Digital base card of Obkachev, I think it's called. We have to Bond. They're all toasting him towards the end. Spoilers. For us, as Bond and Madeline in a clinch. Right, let's have a look at the next one. This should be a physical, the next one. That's digital based. We have a Heracles parallel. Ben, these Heracles, I've never known people go so fierce for cards that they needed for an achievement as the Heracles ones. People were going nuts for them when those achievements were live. So Heracles parallel, and then finally we have World of Bond, which is a physical card. It's kind of like a shiny. What kind of background would you say that is? It's not quite along the solar flare kind of vibe, but it's nice. Ana de Armas is Paloma. So yeah, let's just take a moment.
That's a good one.
It is a good one. Yeah, it is a good one. It doesn't hurt that it's Ana de Armas' Paloma in that dress. Right, so pack 1, nothing flashy, 2 physicals. One of them's actually pretty decent. I've had one of those cards in hand, and they're actually really nice. Second pack, let's go in. Right, come on. Upper Deck 10th anniversary purchase. They've got to give us something here. We are leaving. Picture of the Aston Martin. Nice digital card. Reunited. Bond in a Forest. Another digital card. That's the same one we had the Heracles of, which is Ralph Fiennes and Daniel Craig having a chat on the River Thames. Now the Heracles parallel has come it's come a slot earlier than it normally does, which indicates something different in this pack format.
Yep.
So we've got a Heracles parallel, and next, so that's card 4. Card 5 is digital base. It could just be swapped around the order. Card 6 is an ice cut die parallel. So actually, I don't know why I got excited then, because absolutely bug all in terms of the red flashy stuff. But still, there you go. As they say, you've got to be in it to win it.
Yep.
So, is worth a shot.
Happy birthday, EPAC.
Happy birthday,
and you just
EPAC.
demonstrated the very typical EPAC experience.
Yes.
Yeah, exactly. Yeah. It would have been nice to have pulled something, but back in the day, we used to do pack of the week. We used to do this stuff all the time. So I'm sure Apodeck would love it if we bought packs every week when we record. So let's start doing that some more. Ben, thank you for coming on and joining. I didn't think to ask you because I wasn't sure if you were available, but when you said, "Oh, I've got a lot to say on this subject," I was like, "Well, let's see if Ben wants to join us." Given your pretty much,
I really appreciate the opportunity as always, and Well, I appreciate the opportunity as always, and I really, thank you for your leadership in the hobby and your support of my group and of EPAC as a whole. I think that for the niche that I, as a collector, fall in, and that those of the people in my group, I think these are all topics that we've discussed today that would be of interest to them, and in forwarding their collecting abilities as EPAC continues to grow and change.
Yeah. I kind of wonder what they've got coming up. They've said they're going to have a bit of a sale, and they've got an EPAC exclusive set coming up. It'd be interesting to see what they do, whether it'll just be a short thing or whether it'll be across the year. I mean, I guess they could make it as big or as little as they want. But I love the fact that they're marking it. You can get a special avatar. There's a special little logo. And yeah, I mean, it's not going anywhere. So,
Right.
Yeah. All hands on deck for the next big release, I guess. All right, guys. Thank you very much, Jason. Thank you very much, Josh. You both look absolutely freezing. I must admit, I do have a blanket over my knees as we record.
Yeah, see?
It is also an Upper Deck blanket.
Oh, that's nice.
An Upper Deck logo blanket, but yeah.
Very sharp.
But I have my Samuel Adams Boston hoodie on.
Nice.
Just as a mark of respect to both Ben and Josh's homeland. Josh,
Sam was
for
a G.
exactly. Josh, for those who are listening, will not know he's wearing a Patriots beanie hat. So this time next week, as we record, it will be the Super Bowl.
Oh yeah,
Patriots.
Absolutely. That's
Patriots.
right. That's right. Everybody was waiting to, they wanted to see us gone for a lot longer, but sorry, it's been a long 7 years or so.
Yeah,
long 7 years.
Has it been 7
since we've been to a Super Bowl?
God,
a lot of people wait
like
a lifetime or multiple generations in some circumstances, but we just a little 7-year hiatus, retune the machine.
All right. Ben, will you be watching the game, rooting for your home team?
Yep. I am not a Patriots fan. I'm not really an NFL fan, but I won't be able to escape it here, and everyone will be talking about it. So I'm going to need to know what happened.
Good. All right. Well, listen, enjoy that. We won't be recording next weekend, unfortunately, because I'm going to be out of town. So the next time we record, it will all be over. And we'll either be able to commiserate about the Patriots almost making it or celebrate the fact that they did. Everyone listening to this is probably now switching off if they haven't already and swearing at us. So, Ben, with that, would you like to lead us out this week? And thank you again for joining us.
Yes, and thank you. And to everyone who listened today, enjoy collecting.